Hello, Om Swastiastu, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, Salam sejahtera, Shalom for all of us. Today I'm going to presentation about one of my presentation in casting process and the subject of process production. My name is Igo Stiagonde Suryakusuma and my college number is 2105531 include the references, and I take a lot of reference from the Handbook of Manufacturing Process, how product components and materials are made, made by James G. Brala, and I got references from another journal, from Google, and another internet. Okay, so for the topic that we're going to discuss today in the presentation, the first one is wire forming operation, the second one is tubing section, the third one is the non-sheet performing operation, and the fourth one is the high energy rate forming methods. Okay, so we're going to the first topic for the presentation. The first one is the wire forming. Wire forming is a components made from bent and formed wire are useful when in open configuration, such as those used in the baskets and fan or machine guards. So it's required in many other applications. Wire can provide an economical configuration, sometimes with a spring effect incorporate and sometimes as a rigid member. Then bending methods used for sheet metal, rod, tube, and other cross-section are normally also applicable when the workpiece material is wire. So wire forming is a broad term that describes shaping wires into a specific configurations. And then for the example, turning a piece of wire into a spring, then this term is normally used to describe an automated wire forming process used by machines. And then wire forming is a method for or we can assume that wire forming is a method from applying force to charge the contour of wire by bending, swagging, piercing, chamfering, shearing, or other technique. The various technique for wire forming can produce any type of shape, form, or configurations. So the process starts with collide wire that is straightened before being formed. Okay, next in the wire forming operation we got the first subtopic of the wire forming operation. The first one is a forming in 4 slide machines. So the forming in 4 slide machine is an application to parts formed from wire or sheet metal strip. So 4 slide machines have a forming area with 4 press slides set 90 degrees apart and driven by cams. So there's also a center post that can be shaped to facilitate forming. Tools on the slides are designed to blank, pierce, notch, bend, form, emboss, and cut off the wire or strip as it progresses through the machine. And mechanism feed the materials from coil stock and eject the workpiece where appropriate. Rollers are often positioned on the machine to straighten then the stock prior to the blanking or forming operations. Then 1 or 2 small horizontal punch presses can also be mounted on the machine upstream from the 4 slide area to perform the additional operations. To the third subtopic from wire forming operations. The third one is the Turk head rolling of wire. Turk's head rolling of wire is used to change the cross section of round wire. So Rectangular, square, and special shape can be imparted to the wire by passing through opposite rolls arranged so that the opening between them is the shape of the cross-section desired. So the roll arrangement used to produce square wire. Then the operation is rapid up to about 600 feet, or we can configuration to 180 meters per minute. So contour cross section can be produced so long as the shape desired can be ground into the rolls. As we can see, the example illustrate in A and B is the third head rolling of wire in 4 different samples. Okay, now we headed to the second topic of the presentation, is the tubbing and section operations. So the first subtopic in this second topic of the presentation is tube spinning, when tube can be spun to provide taper or flangers by using metal spinning methods similar to those used to spinning sheet metals. So other use are to thin the walls and increase the strength of tubular members. So we can see the internal mandrels are normally used to provide support for the workpiece metal. So hollows, mandrels external to the tubbing can be used when the tubbing expand or fired at the end. So forward tub spinning. So the first so in the tube spinning, we got two subtopic. So the first one is forward tube spinning, who's sometimes called the tube stretching, when is a means for increasing the depth of cooking pots or the leg of the cylindrical parts of or the turbine. So the diameter is constant. The power spinning method is equivalent to shear spinning and force the metal to flow axially along the mandrel, increasing the length of the workpiece while decreasing the thickness of the side walls. The second one is a backwards tube spinning, when it is the same as forward tube spinning except that the forming tools moves to the direction opposite to that of the expansion of the workpiece. It moves towards the headstock of the spinning leg, and the workpiece metal flows away from the headstock as shown in a V that we can see the example tube spinning, tools movement, and the tool in the besides the presentations.
within specs.
Okay, we're gonna heading to the second subtopic in tubbing and section operation. The second subtopic is tube and section bending. While tube and section bending, the first one in the tube and section bending is draw bending. It's used to bending the tubbing, section and bars, while the workpiece is held against the bending formed by a sharp clamp. As the bending form and clamp rotate together, the workpiece is pulled or drawn around the form and against a pressure die whose form also matched the cross section of the workpiece. So the pressure die can be either stationary or movable along its longitudinal axis. A vibration may be applied to the tooling or workpiece to reduce the friction, while the method is applicable to tubbing of 1.5 inch to 10 inch, which means 12 to 250 millimeters in diameters and bends to 180 degrees. Draw bending provides better control over the workpiece shape than other tube bending methods. While with use of the material and the care of the operations, thin wall tubing can be bent with a little wall collapsed to a center line radius as small as 1 tub diameter. So we can see the example picture from beside the explanations. There's the tube pressure die, clamp die, VPD for tube pressure die, and that's how the tube and section bending and draw bending.
Tube bending is a method of producing shapes by holding or clamping the tube with tooling and applying sufficient force to form the tube to a bend radius while maintaining the tube's cross-sectional shape. For bending to be successful, the tube material must be bent beyond its yield point, which is the material's capability to resist permanent deformation, but not past its ultimate tensile strength, which is the limit of the material's ability to resist tearing. As the tube is bent, it undergoes a distortion so that the material outside the bend is forced to stretch under tension, and the material inside the bend is forced to compress. Between the tension and compression zones is a boundary line known as the neutral axis. The neutral axis is important since bending operations are calculated from its location. Factors important to the successful bending of tubes include tube outside diameter, tube wall thickness, bend radius, and bend location.
Okay, in the tube section bending we got another subtopic. Name is compression bending. While the compression bending is similar to draw bending, but the forming block and the clamp do not rotate, while instead the pressure die is replaced by a wiper shoe or fitted roll which moves along the periphery of the stationary bending form, that causing progressive bending of the workpiece. Now, no internal mandrels is used except for the outer surface. The tubbing is subjected to some compressive stress. The operation is normally manually powered. The method is less applicable to thin wall tubing than draw bending. So the centerline bend vary as small as about 2.5 times. The tube diameter are possible, but 4 times is more common minimum. So the bends in the tubbing is up to 170 degrees are feasible, where the method is useful when multiple bends in a workpiece are close together, where bends may have more distortions than draw bends made with mandrel. compression bending illustration is in the left of the explanations. The topic in the bending from tubing section and operation is ram and press bending. So ram and press bending is a method applicable to tubing, bar, and other sections. So a forming block is attached to the ram of the hydraulic press. Wing dies below the ram hold the tubing and the pivot to wrap it around the forming block as the press ram descends, while a wiping action of the wing dies control and flow of metals and provides a compression bend. Well, the length of the press stroke determines the angle of bend. Typically, the hydraulic press in which the press stroke can be stopped at the point are employed. No mandrel is used. There's less control over the workpiece than that provided by draw or compression bending, but the operation is relatively rapid, and this method can be used to make successive bends if the tubing is rotated between press stroke. Okay, we're heading to the fourth subtopic on this bending from tubing and section operation. The fourth one is stretch bending. While stretch bending is forming method for sheet metals is described about in section F3. So also is applicable with variation for bending of tubing and other sections. So the workpiece is stretched longitudinally to the yield points and then is wrapped around and bending die for a form. A mandrel is not needed, but the method is not rapid. It is applicable to bends of non-uniform radius. More than one low-range bend can be saved in one operations. So the end of the workpiece may have to be trimmed off after the bending operation because of distortions from the gripping jaws that provides the stretching tensions. Subtopic in the bending from tubing and section operation is wrinkle and roll bending. Wrinkle and roll bending is a method for bending large, heavy wall, tubing, or pipe. It is applicable to field conditions since it can be done by hand with no special tooling. Now, one side of the tubing is heated locally by gas torch to the point when the tubing wall softens. The operation is repeated at another point a short distance from the first wrinkle and then successively until the desired degree of bend has been achieved. Barrel bending is a means of putting gentle bends in tubing, pipe, bars, roll, and or extrude shapes, plates, and sheets. Usually the three parallel rolls are provided is triangular, but others are the argument with the lower two being mechanically driven, but others. From the sixth subtopic from the tubing section operation is wall extrusion bending. While this method is used for a large, heavy wall pipe, one wall of the pipe is swept from the inside, causing it to elongate and the pipe bend. Pipes of 5 to 12 in 125 to 300 mm can be bent with this method to a minimum bend radius of 3 times the diameter. Successive bends in different planes can be made with this method, but a straight section must be allowed by bends, like we can see the example in the beside the explanation. Okay, we're heading to the seventh subtopic from the tubing section operation. The seventh one is bulging mechanical and bulging hydraulic. While this operation that expand a portion of the tubular or cylindrical part when done mechanically, a segment die with segment held together by springs is inserted into the tubular part during the press stroke. A tapered punch push these segment apart, and they in turn push out the walls of the workpiece. In the other hand, bulging hydraulic expands tubing pipe or cleaning canal part. So, by applying internal force with a precious liquid or an elastomer, low diameter rubber or polyurethane punch, the workpiece is contained by the die that is spilled so that the bulk part can be removed after the operations. Okay, now in the presentation we're heading to the third topic, which is the non-sheet forming operations. The first one in non-sheet forming operations is sharing of bars and other non-flat shapes. We can see the example alligator shears are commonly used for sharing bars and other section tool like guillotine shears and vertical presses permanently fit by short shear blades, and are another alternative in shops where there is much bar sharing. The blades of guillotine shears may be noticed or proved to aid in maintaining the location of the workpiece during cutting. So, the first subtopic in the non-sheet forming operation is cold heading. While the cold heading or cold forming is a method of forming metal in progressive steps into net shape or near net shape parts, starting with a slug which is cut from continuous coil of wire materials. Our cold heading machines used a series of powerful hammers and dies to form a part. The process creates very little to no waste, other a significant material cost savings. So, and the volume is being formed, and the volume of the standing slug is about the same as the finished part. The net volume remains the same since the material are being formed into the die rather than cut from the blank. The cold heading tube process creates a stronger part with smooth continuous surface while changing the grain flow of materials. Okay, from non-sheet operation we got our fourth subtopic is impact and cold extrusion. This time forms are a part of some length by plastic flow of metals under compressive stress into an opening of limited size. A process is normally referred to as impact extrusion when the non-ferrous metals are involved, and cold extrusion when the workpiece is ferrous. A blank is placed in the die and punch puts pressure on the blank because the metal flow in the desired direction. The first one of the subtopic in impact and cold extrusion is backward extrusion. A metal blank is placed in the die and the metal compressed by the punch and forget to flow backwards around the punch to from hollow. So the object, the sidewall thickness of the part depends on the amount of the clearance between the punch that die on this D. This process sometimes called by hooker process, where the workpiece metal flows forward normally downward through an orifice rather than upward around the punch. A close fit between the upper portion of the punch and the die prevent the upward flow. Combined extrusion flow. The third one is combined extrusion, is both forward and backward impact extrusion as at the same time on one part. The backward extrusion can have a safe or hollow shape that the forward extrusions. Okay, now we're going to the last topic of the presentation. The last topic is high energy rate forming methods. So the methods are useful in the forming of large workpiece and difficult to form metals through the applications of large amounts of energy in a very short time period. So these processes are characterized by the high velocity of the forming action, more than 50 feet per second, and they used a pressure wave rather than forming by punch to affect the change in the workpiece, except for pneumatic mechanical forming described below. The energy is applied by explosive charge, detonations, or combustions of gas mixture spark this charge, exploding bridge wire, electromagnetic pulse, and the sudden release of compressed gas. So the first one, so the subtopic in the fourth topic in high energy rate forming methods is explosive forming. So the explosive can deliver a huge amount of power. Although most expensive detonation are destructive, the power from an explosive chain can be used to manufacture parts. In an explosive forming process commonly used to production of large parts is called standoff system. An explosive is placed between the die cavity and the work for a certain distance from the work. This distance is called the standoff distance. Standoff distance depends on the size of the work large parts it is. Usually about half the diameter of the blank. The explosive itself, it's also deeply submersible. So in water, so upon the detonations, the shock wave travels through the water and delivers great energy to the work, so forming it to the die cavity near instantaneously.
Process that uses energy from an explosive to form a metal into the shape of a mold. The sheet is placed on top of the mold and the air beneath the sheet is evacuated. This is done to prevent the air from stopping the metal sheet from being pressed into the mold once the explosive is triggered. Next, the tank is filled with water to maximize the effect of the shock and pressure wave. Finally, an explosive is placed above the metal. When the explosive is triggered, it creates a shock and pressure wave.
The second subtopic in high energy rate forming methods is combustible gas forming. So this hard process, hydrogen, methane, or natural gas mixed with air, oxygen, or ozone, when ignited, provides the pressure wave that forms the sheet metal workpiece. So the speed of the pressure wave is considerably less than when high explosives are used. Its duration is shorter but still measured in milliseconds. The pressure waves occurs in the ignited gas rather than a water or some other medium. The process is more suited for large production quantities than high explosive forming. Okay, the third subtopic in high energy rate forming methods is electromagnetic forming. While used, the electromotive force generated by a sudden electromagnetic pulse to form conductive sheet metal workpiece. A magnetic coil placed adjacent to the workpiece is subjected to sudden electrical current flow from discharge of bank of capacitors. So the magnetic fields thus produce in the coil induced a secondary current in the workpiece, and there is a repulsive force between the current and the primary current in the coil. The repulsive force drives the workpiece metal against the die or other parts and thrust it far beyond its yield points. There is no contact between the coil and the workpiece, and the magnetic energy will pass through non-conductive materials such as wire, rubber, plastic. The operation works best with non-conductive workpiece materials such as copper, brass, and aluminum. Low carbon steel can also proceed. Heading to the fourth subtopic in high energy rate forming methods. The fourth is spark discharge forming. While both these methods are electrohydraulic forming described below, use electrical numbers and energy stored in a bank of capacitors to create a shock wave, which is transferred through the liquid medium. So in a spark discharge forming, the energy release is in the form of a spark across two electrodes. Switching circuits instantaneously discharge the energy to the two electrodes. Switching circuits instantaneously discharge the energy to the two electrodes. The intense energy emanating from the spark sends a shock wave that forces the workpiece materials against the die walls. Okay, now the fifth subtopic on high energy rate forming methods is electrohydraulic forming. All this method is very similar to spark discharge forming, except that the energy is released from an exploding bridge wire connecting two electrodes. Water transfer the force that form the workpiece. The operation cannot be reported as easily as spark discharge forming, but it does provide somewhat greater forming force. The method most suited to expansion forming of tubular parts. The process is effective. However, if the operation can be performed by more conventional methods, they are usually more economical. We can see the electrohydraulic forming or electrohydraulic machines in forming, so restoration phase die, water clamping, vacuum wire workpiece clamping, griffin bangchang in the AC power input capacitor bank, charging, switching, and control circuit. So the last subtopic in high energy rate forming methods is pneumatic and mechanical and pin forming. While this method can be considered a variation of drop hammer forging, then compressed gas stored in a pressure tank or the energy released in the form of gas from combustion of a fuel oxidizer mixture is used to drive the pressed rod to high velocity 2 to 10. That's conventional drop hammers. The best application of the process is the forging of parts having thin vertical dimension and high level of detail. Meanwhile, pin forming is a forming process that does not require any dies. It can be performed at room temperature sheet, and the sheet metal is impinged on one surface with a stream of metal shot. The total effect is the generation of general compound convex curve. So the process is useful when the form required does not involve abrupt curvatures change. So thank you for listening on my presentation. That's all from my presentations. I'm sorry if there's any errors or mistakes that I made during these presentations. Thank you for listening and hope you guys enjoyed and you can learn from all my presentations. So thank you.